Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday's version of Take 5, where we're walking through the book of James, sometimes Proverbs, but mostly James, where we're getting James's wisdom and Proverbs as they deal with our everyday life. And I think today will be very much the case as well. It's been a short week. We didn't work on Monday. How's your week going? You almost done with things? Now it's Friday, and the issue that James is going to address, it's a very brief, chapter 4, verse 2.5, and then ending in verse 4. And the issue is prayer. And he almost doesn't even say prayer, but he's talking about prayer in a very colloquial way and in a very relational way. And I really like that because the way he will address prayer, in a sense he's going to address it on the opposite way. He's going to say, if I had to give this a sermon title, I would say fruitless prayer in 3 easy steps. Because he's going to talk about how the things that we desire and pray for don't come about. And they all have to do in this colloquial way of a relationship that we have with the one to whom we're praying. In a sense, it's as if he's saying, when you come to someone with requests, you know this as a parent, when you come to someone with requests, it's not, okay, get these 7 things done for me, and then we'll talk. It's sometimes our kids ask us for things and we love it, but the relationship, the communication has got to be a lot more than that. And he's going to end with that relationship. He's going to talk about friendship and enemy with God. And that friendship, that relationship is vital. It is really the basis of a fruitful prayer life. And so he's going to say 3 things. How to have a fruitless prayer life. First of all, don't ask for anything. You won't get anything. Second of all, just ask for stuff that will build you up, that are selfish, that are just about you. And then thirdly, just ask for the wrong kind of stuff, or actually be on the wrong kind of team. Don't be God's friend, be the world's friend, and then when you're in a pickle, then maybe ask him for something. Here's what he says, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. How to have a fruitless prayer life. He says this, you do not have because you do not ask. NIV says you do not ask God. You do not have because you don't ask. How do you expect God to fulfill the desires of your heart if you never ask him? And this has to do with relationship as well. If God either seems a million miles away, I could never ask him, or if God seems to be some kind of religious ritual so that I just say rote prayers, he's never going to ask them. He said you have to ask God. When was the last time you asked God for something specific? Now, there's that old formula that you ask according to his will, and it's really true. I mean, God won't give you anything against his will, but you don't have to add that tag. If you have a relationship with him in Christ, ask whatever you will, and he will grant your requests. But it's assuming you are delighting yourself in the Lord. It's a lot there. All that to say, the first way to have a fruitful prayer life, let me turn it around, is ask God. Do you have a prayer list? Do you regularly pray for people? And do you regularly pray specific things for them? Nothing will bolster your faith more than to ask for specific things and then watch them answered. Fruitful prayer life. Don't forget to ask. Secondly, you ask and you do not receive because you ask wrongly to spend it on your passions. In other words, to go back to fruitless, a fruitless prayer life is you're asking for the wrong motive. You're asking something, but you're asking so that it can build up your ego, or so that your own lusts or your own passions, you're asking for something not to benefit other people or to benefit the glory of God. You're just asking to benefit you selfishly. Sure, a lot of our prayer requests benefit us, but this has to do with the selfish motive of I'm going to get ahead. I'm going to make sure I get my foot forward. And those are the kind of prayers that, prayers is meant to be submission to the will of God, submission to the good of others, and the glory of God. Fruitless prayer, don't ask. Fruitless prayer, just pray to build yourself up. And then fruitless prayer, you're on the wrong team. He says, do you not know that friendship with the world has to do with selfishness, has to do with materialism, has to do with pride. All of those things that are very worldly. If those are what are feeding my prayers, that's friendship with the world. Don't you know that friendship with the world is enemy with God? You can't be praying the will of God when you're praying completely opposite of what he wants. It's like if God speaks Spanish, then why are you speaking French? Speak Spanish. Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. If all of my prayers are to build myself up and do not follow the pattern, the will, the character of God, I'm not going to get answered. Think about that this weekend. How's your prayer life? And the way to have a fruitful prayer life is to be the friend of God. And to be the friend of God, first is to walk in Christ, and then to understand his character, and to truly desire that his character be produced in you, in those around you, and in your world. Pray that way. Ask and pray that way, and watch how God answers. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday as we continue Take 5 in the book of James. I'll see you later.